Hello everybody! It has come to my attention that some people are unaware of the structure of this season. You will eventually figure it out, but in the event you are just absolutely freaking out, here it is. This season is told through a series of 2 side-by-side arcs. The Facility arc will follow where we left off after Season 2 of Design, while the Homebound arc will follow an alternate dimension replaying events from the past. Why are there 2 dimensions? Why jump between 2 seemingly unrelated things? Oh boy! Guess that's what we're gonna have to find out. Facility arc. The ceiling swam, slowly coming into view like I was underwater. Cold, shadowy surface churning above me. The ceiling pipe slowly crawled into view from the darkness, harsh overhead lights reaching past them to claw my eyes open. I twitched, jerking upright before I could even fully see. I was on the floor of a hallway, though it was different than the one I had passed out in, the door no longer visible beside me. To my immediate right, leaned up against the wall, O2 stared at me, blinding eyes rolling exhaustedly as she took a big breath. It looked as if she had been standing there for some time. A room was directly to her right. It looked like a cell block of some sort, consisting of a bed and nothing else.
You alive?
O2 finally mumbled, shifting her weight from the wall and brushing her hair aside.
You gonna freak out on me again?
No, fine. I managed to croak out, pressing my hand against my forehead and curling my knees into my chest. I'm not sure what just happened.
Your god node almost collapsed.
O2 sighed.
You just about tore yourself to pieces. I waited for a while by your body, but no daughter ever came for you. Usually they cart defective godbearers away pretty quickly, but they completely ignored you. You're really a piece of work, aren't you?
Yeah. I shook my head, taking a deep breath. This is all a bit much to handle.
So what the hell was all that then?
She exhaled.
You don't seem to understand how anything works around here, but you knew 104. No one talks about the daughters, let alone chase after them. What the hell were you thinking?
I sighed, taking another few breaths before shaking my head and moving to sit crisscrossed on the floor. 104 killed someone very important to me. I finally spoke out, the words sour in my mouth. Well, not her, I suppose. Dahmer lied to me, broke her promise, and someone I loved had to pay for it. O2 blinked slowly, nodding after some time.
Gotcha.
She shrugged.
I don't think you'll find your story particularly uncommon here.
I need to talk to Dahmer, I hissed, resolve building again as I rose to my feet.
Impossible.
O2 sighed, putting out her hand.
Calm down, 76. The fact that you even talked to Dahmer before makes you better off than half the godbearers in here. She never shows her face, and the only way to get in contact with her is through the daughters.
I had hoped I had been hearing her wrong the whole time, pleaded that she was misspeaking, but I couldn't fool myself any longer. You keep saying daughters, I queasily spoke, when referring to 104. You're saying there's more like her, aren't you?
No godbearer with an unaltered god node can possibly even touch them.
O2 affirmed softly.
And and their immunity to the negative distortion feedback response means they can vaporize us instantaneously if deemed necessary. There are 5 daughters, 103 through 108, each a little over a year apart in terms of age. The name comes from the current rumor that they were all, in fact, the human daughters of Dr. Cleo Dahmer.
My eyes went wide.
They abide by specific rules. Anytime a camera is altered or destroyed, the nearest daughter will appear and terminate the subject responsible before repairing the damaged segment. Any escape attempts are met with similar results, with an added investigation to determine any co-conspirators. Any godbearer can be tagged at any time. Tagging means they are randomly assigned a daughter who will terminate them without fail. Utilizing distortions beyond a reasonable extent anywhere but the chance room is grounds for tagging, as is venturing into restricted areas and a variety of other misdemeanors.
Her daughters. I just mumbled to myself, staring ahead as my blood ran cold. Dahmer.
The daughters are fed information through the security network. Staff members can converse with us subjects through speakers and microphones within the daughters' backpacks. It is rumored that Dahmer occasionally controls a daughter every now and then, but other than that, no one has heard from her.
She stopped herself momentarily, thinking over the last statement before correcting herself. She shook her head.
I suppose she makes a point to initiate the chances, but talking to her wouldn't do much good.
Why not? I questioned. What are the chances?
You don't need to worry about that. It doesn't concern you.
Wait, what? I shook my head, taken aback at her sudden attempt to hide things. Of course it does. What do you mean? I need to talk to Dahmer, and if I can do that during a chance, I need to know what it is. O2 flashed pale, eyes nervously glancing away as she breathed out.
I don't think you understand how things work around here, 76.
John, I corrected. My name's John, and that's exactly what I'm saying. I don't know, so tell me.
No, that's just it.
She stammered.
I don't want to know your name, 76. No one here knows anyone else. Make a point to keep it that way. The only reason you're here is because I didn't want to leave you rotting in the hallway. I shouldn't even be doing this. This is my cell block. We might get tagged. We should get back to the 7th ward.
I blinked several times, shocked at this sudden turn. 7th ward. I echoed slowly, glancing down at my uniform before glancing back to O2's. I had far too many questions to leave now. She would just have to deal for a little bit longer. How many of us are there in all? I asked. She sighed, beginning to get antsy.
40 or 50.
She spoke.
I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. It changes every day. 76, you really should go.
And I'm 7th class? I continued slowly. What are the classifications? You said you were 0 class. I assume that has something to do with your subject number, O2. What does class mean?
Listen, 76.
She shook her head.
It doesn't matter. You really shouldn't worry about stuff like that. You can rise in ranking, but no one has ever fallen. It doesn't matter anyway, just go.
I stopped cold, eyes narrowing. O2 flinched, realizing she had just misspoke. I might be new here, I continued, watching her wilt under my stare. But I'm not as uninformed as you think, O2. I'm not as stupid as you seem to have in your head.
I don't...
She staggered, fist shaking.
I don't think that... Please, just leave.
You think I can't read in between the lines? I continued. No one has ever fallen in ranking. That seems rather counterintuitive, right?
Stop.
She hissed.
76, you don't want...
To do well in whatever a chance is must mean you improve in ranking, I continued. If you can go up in class, it's completely absurd to think that performing poorly wouldn't result in a demotion. I took a breath, finally catching her gaze. Unless, of course, if you don't perform well, you're killed. You don't want to tell me so much information, don't want to learn my name, don't want to get to know me because you're convinced I'll fail, right? You don't want me to know about the chances because you want my last moments to be ignorant bliss, right?
76. That's right. Congratulations. You figured it out. Are you happy?
I just want you to be honest with me, I retorted. I don't care if you think I might get killed. What matters is—
I don't think!
She snapped back, cool demeanor dissolving for a moment, before she crossed her arms and sighed.
At the end of every wing, there is a roster. A list of chances, and the God-bearers participating in each one. A 7th class has never participated in a chance because they're deemed too defective to compete.
Oh, right, I stammered. That's not quite—
Strange then that your number's on there.
She hissed, eyes narrowing as my own heart lurched to a stop.
Against a 5th class of all things. Matches outside of one's own class are rare enough, but such a high difference is unheard of. 4 classes higher? It's just cruel. You'll be annihilated.
Wait, I staggered. I tried to stifle my horrified cough. Opponent? Surely the chances weren't—
If you want to knowingly go die in your death battle tomorrow—
O2 gnashed.
That's fine. Sorry for thinking you'd be better off not knowing. The losers get a penalty test, an experiment performed by the facility that'll push the boundaries of their god node until it takes their life.
Oh. I softly breathed, sinking back to the floor and crossing my legs as I put my chin on my hands, giving this genuine thought. So, chances are 2 god-bearers pitted against each other. The winner advances and can either stay where they are or potentially advance upwards. The loser is subjected to a test by the facility. Something always lethal. I scratched at my scalp. But how do 2 god-bearers fight? That must be difficult with the negative distortion feedback preventing left hands from harming each other directly. I pondered. That's how the classes came about then. The different rankings, each class has its own specialized way of getting around this. Loopholes similar to the way Julie had tendrils that could cut through other god-bearers. I was silent for a bit longer before I finally took a deep breath, slowly standing up and shoving my paralyzing fear down. A smile slowly crawled across my dead skin, a faint chuckle resounding from my lungs as I grinned at O2. That's pretty intense, I guess. I laughed again, watching her face slowly go from enraged to sheer confusion. But much better than I thought it would be. I smirked. I thought I was gonna have some, horrible test performed on me or something, but that's only if I lose, right? Only losers get penalized with the test. She didn't even respond, just stared as I grew more and more ecstatic. 5th class. I grinned, looking down at my hands and snickering. I think it would be a bit more of a toss-up if it was against someone higher, but hell, it'll be a good start.
What are you... 76? 5th class specializes in body reconstruction, making dangerous weapons from their own body parts, allowing them to slash apart other god-bearers with attacks immune to defensive distortions. You couldn't even land a scratch on them.
Oh, Julie. I just laughed. So, I guess she would have been in that class, huh?
Who?
O2 stammered.
What are you even saying?
Well, how about the rest of the classes then? I questioned, smile growing. In the future, I'd like to know what I'm going up against. Her face was disbelieving, eyes searching me as if I had just been replaced by a bad look-alike.
Zero class.
She uncomfortably spoke, taking it slow as if she expected me to cut her off at any moment with more strange behavior.
Zero class is the second highest ranking, taking into account the strength of the god node and the host's specialization.
And that's you, right? I questioned. What is Zero Class's specialization then? You said something about that before too. Something like heat transfer, right?
That's just my individual specialization. I facilitate molecular movement, heat up objects and surfaces, including oxygen to produce, well, you'll likely know it as a high-temperature exothermic redox reaction. Combustion, as it were.
Explosions, I nodded. You just described a fiery explosion with a bunch of science lingo.
I use my god node to constrain the breakdown of a hydrocarbon into compressed tendrils, dissipating the carbon dioxide and water products away and maintaining heat energy as I cycle in more oxidant.
I blinked slowly. You're talking about tendrils of fire?
I can consistently maintain only 3 to 4 such tendrils.
She paused.
Or concentrate the energy to enact a one-time detonation. But yes, I can essentially create fire with no outside source of ignition. This is how my ranking of Zero Class is achieved. We specialize in movement on the molecular level. Any godbearer of the lesser class simply could not compete with us. The exothermic nature of the reaction releases a compounding amount of energy, which, when stored in tendrils, makes it rather easy to obliterate god nodes from godbearers using simple body reconstruction, or secondary distortions.
It's firebending. I laughed. Like that one show. Never mind, it's not important. So, that's an example of the second highest class. What else we got?
The ranking system is unofficial. Nothing is known for sure, but over time, the subjects seem to have concluded that the first class is highest. This includes 104 and the other daughters. Their abilities include near instantaneous matter transportation, or teleportation, and empathetic subconscious distortion negation.
Cool. I nodded. Makes sense, I guess. They'd be kind of hard to compete with, what with teleporting and vaporizing people and stuff.
Next highest is Zero Class. This includes myself and 3 other individuals whose specializations I'm not familiar with. Second class comes next, followed by 3rd and 4th, no discernible difference between 6th and 5th class, leading us to conclude that they are both at similar levels. 8th class is next, followed by 7th at the lowest ranking. Little to no god node controller specialization. Our numbers are initially determined by various tests, but may be amended based on performance and chances.
Great! I laughed, punching her on the shoulder, slapping away her subconscious distortions and making solid contact. So you're saying that even though I'm a joke now, soon I'll be at your level? She blinked in confusion. You know, going upwards in the chances, and then I guess I'll have to beat the shit out of 8-year-old girls at some point to pass up first class. I pondered, laughing. My, I would feel that if they weren't so scary. O2's eyes widened, going to speak before I cut her off. Listen, O2. I grinned, putting my hand on her head. Sorry to play you like this, but I've been less than truthful with you. Everyone loves an underdog story, and I just needed to know that you had truly begun to lose hope before being truthful with you. Her eyes glanced up to my hand on her head as she grew downright perplexed. Oh, not only am I not new here, I grinned, slowly lifting my hand towards one of the cameras in the room, making a shape of a gun with my fingers. But I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. My smile reached across my face, ear to ear, highlighting my ghastly green eyes before I slowly cocked my thumb back. Bang! I softly spoke, slamming my thumb down. A distortion tore out from my hand, slashing through the air and hitting a camera dead center, shattering it to countless pieces. O2 went dead pale, staggering back, horrified eyes flashing to me. She coughed, backing away from me.
You just tagged yourself! Why would you do that?
She was cut off as the air shattered with gore. A girl I had yet to see flashing into view, just slightly older than 104. Her hair was just as bleached white, indeed looking like some kind of sister to 104. Her clothes just slightly different. Her hairstyle fell straight down in a waterfall past her jet black shirt over a red skirt with pink floral print. Her skin was pale, a similar purple backpack on her shoulders, what appeared to be Heelys on her feet, light up laces flashing brightly. I spotted a faint 105 etched into her pink necklace, and my smile grew instantly. "Hey, 105, I smiled, putting out my hand.
76, no!
O2 screamed, backpedaling. I just laughed louder, walking forwards and lightly placing my hand against the girl's softly wavering form, watching the distortions part around me. "Sorry about the camera," I cooed, lightly petting her head, watching her sickly red eyes flash to me in indifference. "Mind cleaning that up for me? Love the Heelys, by the way. Do they make those in adult sizes?" O2's jaw hit the floor, her skin draining of what little color it had as she nearly collapsed to her knees in horror.
What?
She coughed, eyes flashing between me and 105, looking as if she was about to throw up. 105 just squirmed out from under my hand, erupting in violent distortions as the ceiling pieced itself back together. No sooner did the ceiling snap back into place than the little girl's form gave one last glance at me, before shattering from existence, blood lightly speckling my face as I waved goodbye. I turned back to O2 then, leaning back against the wall, watching her practically faint in terror as her eyes searched me. Her mouth was too agape to allow proper words to spill forth.
What? Who are you?
John? I laughed. John Matthews, same as always. If you figure 7th class is the lowest ranked class, well, hate to say it, but I'm gonna have to prove you wrong in that one. I again put my fingers into a gun shape, pointing them at her head. She flinched backwards, eyes crawling with confused fear. Sorry, I laughed, putting my hand down. Thanks for all your help today, O2. I owe you one. I hate to see you so hopeless. How about that's how I repay you? She said nothing, just stared in disbelief. Right? I grinned. In return for helping me figure out how this place works, not only will I survive the chance tomorrow, but maybe after that you can put down that silly little guard of yours and trust yourself to learn my name. I sighed, stretching my arms exaggeratedly. Hope, I repeated. Something tells me you're not the only one who needs it here anyway. 40 or 50 godbearers all killing each other every day, that's bound to get you down. Tell me, O2, was it you who came up with that little don't get to know people rule yourself, or was that policy instigated by someone else?
No.
O2 gagged, still in a fog as if she suddenly couldn't tell if I was real or not.
We all agreed separately. It's just kinda how it is.
My head cocked to the side, my eyes narrowing. That wasn't true. But someone started it. I shook my head. Someone had to push it until it stuck. Is there anyone here who others look up to? Anyone who could have headed this agenda? O2 stared blankly for a few seconds before softly whispering,
Maybe 888. Everyone seems to know about her.
Oh, cool, I smirked. Mind if I pay 888 a visit then? Assuming she's still alive? Homebound Arc. I stared at my notebook, my own handwriting all but illegible as I blinked slowly. The teacher droned on, the light of the room harsh and distracting as I tried to force myself to focus. I was vaguely aware of Penny and Max glancing at me occasionally. I knew they were worried about me. They had every right to be. I hadn't been acting like myself since the incident at the ghost town that weekend. It didn't help that my father had yet to return from his business trip. He was often a day or two late, sometimes even a week, but he usually called if it came to that. That is likely what Max, Penny, and Sarah were most concerned about, but it barely even registered with me. Something else wasn't right. Something far more important. I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know what was happening to me. I just felt sick. I felt as if I had left a part of myself back at that location, or maybe not that. I just knew something was wrong. Something was missing. I wasn't very good at hiding my concern, apparently.
If you're not busy...
Penny weakly stammered, face glowing red as she mumbled to herself more than anything. I snapped my head upwards, blinking heavily. School had seemingly ended, the classroom mostly empty aside from Penny and me. I must have fallen asleep. The desks all lay vacant around me, faintly flickering fluorescent lights buzzing with quiet energy. The chalkboard was crudely erased, the sound of people bustling through the halls faintly audible from my seat. I'm sorry. I quickly shook my head, sitting upright and rubbing my eyes. What was that, Penny? I'm so sorry. I'm really out of it today. Her face reddened further, her fists clenching.
Maybe not today, then.
She shook her head, eyes unable to meet mine. No, wait, I cried, shaking my head and standing up. I'm really sorry. I just genuinely didn't hear you. What about today? I'm fine, really. She bit her lip, as if fighting the urge to simply run out of the classroom.
You're just worrying me, is all.
She spoke with a quavering tone, brushing blonde hair from her dark blue eyes before pressing her hands against her side.
You just seemed... sad. I thought we could do something to, cheer you up. Or, well, yeah. If you're not busy and all.
Today? I stammered, glancing down to my notebook, realizing I had simply scribbled a picture of the ghost town next to a few sentences about mitochondria. I quickly slapped the book closed and pushed it into my backpack.
Or any time.
Penny cringed, hands fiddling with her shirt.
It's whatever.
I blinked slowly several times, glancing back to my backpack. Sorry, Penny, I grimaced. Maybe not today. I couldn't. I was going back. I wasn't even sure why. I guess some naive part of myself thought it could cure the sickness I felt. Ever since that day, it was all I could think about. If I could just figure out what happened there, what the explosion was, what really rested beyond that hill, maybe it would help.
Oh!
Penny nodded rapidly, shaking her head and trying to hide her embarrassment.
I figured. You're busy. I'm sure. Forget about it.
Well, no, I stuttered, putting out my hands awkwardly. I'm sorry, I just have something to do. How about tomorrow, though? I'm free then. Her face drained of color, her body instantly rigidified as if she hadn't expected me to agree at all.
Oh!
She blinked softly, quickly shaking her head in a weird half-nod as her hands clutched at themselves.
Okay, yeah, that works too.
Right. I grinned, her own nervousness rubbing off on me and causing my hands to haphazardly reach for my backpack. Yeah. She just feverishly nodded again, face glowing. I stammered, slinging my backpack over my shoulders. Unfortunately, I've got to go now, but it sounds like fun. Thank you. We'll, talk about it later, cool? Text me or whatever. She nodded rapidly. I sat in my car in silence, watching the road before me stretch forwards like a snake through the dense trees. I drummed my fingers impatiently on the steering wheel, pressing my foot slightly harder on the gas. I just had to go grab a flashlight, maybe a pocket knife or something. I didn't even care about the ghost town anymore, nor did I care about getting caught. I needed to know what was over that hill. It was clear the ghost town acted as some sort of buffer, a kind of disguised security system to keep people from finding out what lay beyond it. This only strengthened my resolve. Suddenly, however, I flailed at the brakes, my foot slamming down as my headlight shone back at me from countless black, reflective vehicles parked along the road. Feeling my pulse hammering, I took several breaths, cursing under my breath and rubbing the back of my neck, angry at myself for stopping so suddenly. My foot slowly let up on the brake, and I began cautiously rolling forwards again, navigating my way past the strangely uniformed team of cars. My eyes glanced up to my house, only to widen in shock. My driveway was blocked off by yet more of the vehicles, and there lay an area of flattened grass in a huge circle. A helicopter perched in the center, cold and lifeless, the rotors long since stopped as it waited in the approaching darkness. My lungs shriveled, my eyes flashing around the scene as my panic grew. What the hell was all of this? Quickly realizing that there was nowhere close to my house to park, I drove a ways down the street before finally pulling off the road and grabbing my keys with shaking hands. I cautiously put the car into park before stepping out slowly, and again looking back at my house. All of the lights were on, and although nothing moved inside, I could have sworn I saw several shapes dart past the windows. As I began slowly walking towards my driveway, I took a closer look at the cars lining its entirety. They were all unmarked. Did this mean they were undercover police or something? My skin prickled with unease. And what about the helicopter? Was something wrong? I tried to gaze in through one of the heavily tinted windows of a car, to see nothing inside. An empty interior stared back at me, doing little to answer any of my questions. I took another several breaths, the air vibrating in my shaking lungs as I turned up my driveway and began cautiously ascending. I had to squeeze my way past several more cars before finally reaching my front door. The heavy brass handles were cold and unmoving, the tall wooden frame looming over me as if I was about to enter an entirely foreign house. My pale hand slowly reached for the handle before I thought better of it, slowly retracting my arm and glancing upwards. Feeling strange to be knocking at my own house, I brought my hand upwards and pressed my knuckles against the door, giving several firm raps.